What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream from the Scalar Learning Channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back at it, ladies and gentlemen, with this awesome series that I'm so excited about, which is our digital SAT J.E.D.I training, okay? And if you guys are new to this, if you guys didn't prep with us over the summer, I'm going to just kind of tell you guys a little bit about it. I just want to make sure we're streaming, we're up and running. Yeah. All right, so we're good to go. All right, so everybody, first of all, for those of you who are on right now and joining right off the bat, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate the support. If you guys could give the video a like, would appreciate that as well. But I wanted to take some time to talk a little bit today about what this program is and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve. We actually already had a lot of results from our August prep course, really positive results. We'll talk about that actually right now. But before we get into the mix, we're going to go to the school website. So as you can see here on our school platform, this is where you go. And the link is in the description below if you guys are new and haven't joined the community. So join right now. It's totally free to join. We have 410 members, and it's growing. We had 408 earlier this morning. So make sure to check that out. It is free to join. These lectures are also going to be all free, all through YouTube, so you can jump on and watch. The idea is that this is basically meant to be a structured training program to get you guys ready and rocking and rolling by the October SAT. Now, some of you guys who joined along in August, let's say, for example, maybe have taken all the practice tests. Okay, some of you guys may be joining new and haven't taken any of the official practice tests, right? So what we're going to do in this iteration, in this version, for people going forward in 2024 is I'm still going to have a test schedule, and I'm still going to say, all right, we're going to take practice test 1 at this date, practice test 2 on that date, to give you a rhythm and a routine, and that's essential to get that practice, those practice reps in. But for those of you guys who have already taken the official practice test, I'm going to provide links to other resources. They might be paid. They're not necessarily mine. One of them that I highly recommend, which I have partnered with, is SAT Crash Course, which you can see on the banner right here. And you can use the code SCALAR for 20% off there. You can purchase 10 practice tests. They've got more that they're releasing as well with some of these modifications and updates to the SAT. But basically, the main idea is to stick to the schedule that I'm posting, and then if you have done the official practice test, see if you can access some of these other available practice resources in position of those. But anyways, that the kind of layout of the structure and the plan and the practice regimens, they're going to be up here on the calendar. So if you guys do come to the school website, you'll see the calendar right here, and you can see all the classes here for math are listed on Mondays. We got 4. This is one of 4. And then we got everything here on Wednesdays for the verbal side, and that's going to be presented by Dan Lerman. So if you guys were here all summer, you got to know Dan. This is him right here. He's also a professor at Columbia University, but one of the greatest tutors on the planet, especially on the verbal side. So he's going to be giving you his tips and tricks and all that good stuff on the verbal side. I'll be handling math, and I think together we make a pretty good duo. We make a pretty good team. As you join, there's going to be certain resources that, might be accessible via a paid membership. But for the most part, the gist of everything, especially if you can make the classes and show up and ask questions and make use of all that good stuff, that's all going to be free for all you guys. Okay, so we're just going to answer some questions. So, okay, so we got Cole in here. So Cole, if we guys look at the chat, by the way, and let me show you guys something. We've got some postings of scores here. So Cole mentioned he went from a 1,300 in June to a 1,420. That's a 120-point increase. So he's going to take it one more time in October. You're going to try and get a high 1,400, low 1,500. So here's Cole's progress. He posted it, and that's pretty incredible. For more of you guys who want to post your results, that'd be amazing. I think we're planning to even interview some of you guys soon and just talk about the process, what worked, what didn't, all that good stuff. But look at that. Look at that amazing jump on the reading, 70 points, and then a nice 50-point jump in the math. And this math, by the way, and we're going to talk about this math on this last August SAT. It was pretty tough, pretty brutal. And that's not just me saying this from students that I know, but that's me talking to a ton of tutoring companies as well and getting some mixed results. Now, obviously, we also had students that did very well in August, but I think in general the consensus one was it was quite a difficult math portion. We got HQ said literally got 1,500 first try as a junior. Only good SAT. Wait, I'm going to retake to max out math. Last 4 questions always get me in the math, especially geometry. Okay, so we're going to be doing stuff for geometry as well. We got a lot of great content planned for you guys in the next 4 weeks. Cole says, you think participating in this course again will help raise my score? Should I focus more on the advanced concepts? Will it basically be the same as the August Jedi plan? All right, great question. So as I just sort of mentioned, the main idea of this is to stick to a regimen and a routine. Now, with some of my individual students and personal students, I actually want them to rewatch these critical concept videos or the formula videos multiple times. And that's really becoming even more important. So I would say for you to, look, the lectures want 2 hours a week. I'd say you should join and still keep in the rhythm, keep in the flow, because I think it's going to be motivating for you. Obviously, now when I plan the practice SATs that are the official College Board ones, I would say do other ones if you can. If you're able to purchase some of these other resources, I would do that. I wouldn't retake the old practice test. But I think outside, and maybe you don't have to take all the quizzes that I'm posting for the content-related material, et cetera, et cetera. But outside of that, I would say stick to the plan, stick to the testing cycle, and learn, accordingly on that cycle. So that would be my advice. The math was so hard in August. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So now Cole's bringing up a very good point. He said moved away from calculators. Okay. Let's talk about that. One of the interesting things here, right, is that we're seeing a lot of people leveraging and using DESMOS, as you should, right? It's a new tool and it's available on the entire test. So people are leveraging DESMOS a lot of times to basically get through some of the system of equations problems or whatever. But what Cole mentioned, I knew this was going to happen. You could tell this was going to happen. He said they moved away from calculators, meaning they're now giving you more problems where, yeah, maybe you could still use a calculator, but you have to think a little bit. You can't just type it into DESMOS and the answer will just show up, right? They're doing that by adding in more constants, more things where maybe if you use DESMOS, it would actually be more difficult than if you simply went to a discriminant, for example, or using negative b over a for the sum of solutions of a quadratic, c over a for the product of solutions for a quadratic, etc. So what I think is going to happen is it's going to be way easier to get to the correct answers in a lot of cases by using some of these important formulas. And we're going to talk about the formulas today in this class, in this hour lecture, because I think these are going to be just more and more and more important, especially for the October iteration. If you have a good handle on the fundamentals, that's what it comes down to, and being able to plug and play with the fundamentals effectively and efficiently, that's going to be the difference. That's how you're going to get a superstar score, 750 plus, in my opinion. How do we enroll in the course? Sarah Yadav says, okay, so great question. If you go to the description in the video, there should be a link right there. But basically, it's here. I don't know if you can see the URL here. Let me just write it out on Miro so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to write the URL. It's very easy. We just actually created a new URL, so it's easier to remember. But let me write this out. It is skool.com/DSAT. Oh my God, I'm having trouble spelling today. Sorry. It's been a long day. And it's only 2 p.m. So /DSAT, okay? So this is how you guys sign up and register. If you haven't done so yet, do it right now. I'm going to leave this up here for a second. But yeah, go ahead and register. But anyways, coming back to the October SAT, this is where I feel like the most important part of this preparation process is going to lie, and getting these fundamentals solid, fluid, and comfortable so you can plug and play really effectively and efficiently. All right. So now Isaac Gege says, I'm getting 610 in my math practice test, and I have 4 weeks to my SAT. What can I do to get 750 plus? Now, look, to say 750 plus in a vacuum, I mean, there's so many factors that I need to know in terms of like, what is your understanding of the critical concepts, right? Did you follow along in our course? Like, I'm assuming if you're getting a 610, there's still critical concepts you're shaky on. So we're going to talk about that in next week, where we're going to do a run through of all the essential critical concepts on the SAT. And I've also got a video that's like, we call it the Digital SAT Critical Concept Bible, that you got to know backwards and forwards. I just had one of my students, I met with him yesterday, and he told me he's planning to watch that video like 4 times through. And I was like, yes, I love it. That's what we need, because you got to get it in your memory banks. And I think that's going to be the key on this October one. All right, so Sarah, let me know. Sorry, Yadav, let me know if you're able to enroll, or other people if you're able to enroll. Any tips for getting my 1420 to a 1500? I really need a great school. Yeah, I mean, my tip is to enroll. My tip is to follow along. So Karen Watkins, let me know if you were in the class leading up for the August SAT or not. But I would say jump in the mix here. And between myself and Dan, I think we're going to give you a lot of new ways to look at some of these questions and different strategies that you can apply, especially when you see our walkthrough videos. I'm posting a walkthrough of Dan doing module 1 of practice test 1 at some point this week, either today or tomorrow. And you guys can watch that. Learn from watching us, right? One of the distinguishing factors of the Scalar Learning channel is I do a ton of walkthrough tests. And I think at the beginning, back when I started the channel back in 2016, I was one of the only people doing it, as far as I know, at least in a time setting. Now, lots of people are doing it. So you can look at our channel. You can find other people. Maybe you like somebody else's style, what's his name? Tutorlini. That's a friend of mine as well. You might like the way that he goes. So find a tutor that is going through the material in the way that fits best with your learning style. If it's me, great. If it's somebody else, great. And watch those walkthroughs because you're going to pick stuff up. You know, I used to have a student a few years ago that said in the morning, they wouldn't even watch me, but they would just listen on the way to school. They would listen to me problem solve and talk problems out loud. And that helped them tremendously in terms of upping their SAT math performance. So these are all really good things. Okay, so Isaac says, where can I get the critical concept? So I'll post the video here. And again, this is going to be the class for next week, but I will show you here. SAT Math, Scalar Learning, Critical Concept Bible. You can just search in Google. It should pop up. Here we go. All right, so let me post this for you guys. We are... Here, I'll get it in the link. Okay, Isaac, boom. And I'm going to make a PDF with, actually, no, not with the critical concept, but I'm going to post a PDF as well that people can access in our course as well in terms of, knowing all the formulas. Every SAT has been a surprise on the math. How can you guarantee you will cover it for somebody who already did every practice test? So I wouldn't say every test has been a surprise. There are questions on the test that have been a surprise. And I can't guarantee, I can't guarantee, all right, let me put it like this. You can't guarantee something that you literally is coming out of nowhere. And also we're taking the College Board at their word that the practice tests are going to be well descriptive and representative of the actual test. So there's limitations on what I can guarantee ethically, right? Obviously. So we have to bear that in mind first. But what I can say and what we likely, again, I can't say 100%, but what we can likely bank on is the fact that standardized tests must follow a standard. Okay. And this is something that historically we've been able to rely upon in the sense that there is a set universe, a set sort of a set pocket of material that they're promising you, right? That the questions are going to be derived from this set list of topics. Now, this set list of topics is presented in collaboration with Khan Academy, right? So if you look at the digital SAT math, we've got these 4 breakdowns of categories: algebra, problem solving, data analysis, advanced math, geometry, and trigonometry. And then within those, we have subcategories. We're going to talk about that today in the everything you need to know about the digital SAT video. So if they all of a sudden gave you a calculus problem or talked about limits, that would be totally unfair. I don't think they're going to ever do that. Can I say 100% they're not going to do it? No, but I can say 99.9%. I don't think they're going to do that because now that would just totally be misleading people. So what we can rest easy on is look, they've publicly stated that it has to come from this pocket of math knowledge, right? Not beyond that, but within this pocket. As such, if you know your fundamentals and foundations, there theoretically should be a way to answer every single one of these problems using these formulas and these protocols. Will you maybe have to think creatively? Might it be a new look at a systems of equations problem? Yeah. But again, if you stay strong with the fundamentals and the principles and don't just simply say, oh, every system of equations problem is solved in DESMOS, as long as you can stay dynamic and fluid, I think you're going to find a path to victory. Now, by the way, I did want to mention, I am myself taking the October SAT. So we're going to put all this into practice. And obviously, I won't be able to ever discuss what, you can't discuss what you see on the SAT in terms of the concepts, but I'll have a good idea after I take it in terms of, and I know that I feel super confident that what I'm saying is going to stand up, meaning as long as I have a solid understanding and a grasp of all the fundamentals, I'll be able to plug and play and apply them, even with some of these new permutations and variants of the question types. Okay. Now we're so Karen says, thanks, I'll definitely be tuning in. I think the hardest part for me is about for sure, last 4 questions. And you don't have much time. By the way, one of the ways that you can fix your time management issues is just simply practice. So people are like, what are time management strategies? I'm like, my time management strategy is practice like crazy, because pretty much every student I've worked with that has had ample time to do the requisite practice, the timing issue pretty much goes away, because you'll just start getting faster the more you practice and the more you recognize things and see things. Now, is that a foolproof plan? Like, will you inevitably have 0 time issues with enough practice? Not necessarily. You could still get tripped up on a problem, might get delayed a little bit more than you would expect. But I just feel like, to me, it makes the most logical sense to shoot for mastery and comprehension and try to be able to get to a point where you can pretty much answer any question that you come across. But obviously, when you see a problem, one micro time management strategy that is fairly obvious, I think, is that if you see a problem where you are completely, at least at first glance, confused in terms of how to even begin, and not even sure, like, sometimes I'd say with the quadratic, even if you don't know where to go, or a simplification thing, it's like, if I can factor, I'm going to factor, right? You don't maybe know exactly where you're going to go, but you at least have a first step. If that is literally taken, like, you can't even come to that first step or first idea of where to begin, yeah, fine, move on, flag it, come back later. That's the most basic time management strategy, so you don't sit there for 10 minutes and then burn that time. So come back, let your subconscious work on it in the background, and see if you can hit it later. And then worst case, you guess. Okay. Cole says, if there's calculus question, it's probably experimental. There's not going to be a calc problem. It wouldn't even be fair as an experimental problem, in my opinion, because it's not yeah, let's put it that way. If something like that, I guess it would have to be experimental, but I don't even want to see it on the test, because it's not something they've even mentioned as in the realm of possibilities. Okay, what do you recommend to do as a practice test? Okay, my recommendation is right up here, SAT Crash Course. So I partnered with them. So not only do I think it's a great resource, but there are my video explanations when you purchase the bundle. And again, use the code SCALER for 20% off. When you purchase the bundle, you're gonna after you take every practice test 1 through 10, then you can go through the math section and watch. There's a button that says watch video solution, and it's me. Okay, so obviously these video solutions aren't anywhere else. They're only through that paid platform. But then you'll have access to another set of, I guess there's 660 questions that I've explained, because if you think about mod 1 and 2 plus the easier version of mod 2, that's 66 questions per test, 10 tests. So there's 660 video explanations within that platform. So I'd recommend SAT Crash Course, but let me give you some other ones as well. So there's also something called Score Smart, which I would highly recommend. That they're part of the National Test Prep Association, and I know the people that created Score Smart. I've been hearing good things about it, so I would definitely check out Score Smart as well. Another resource for just drill and kill practice problems by question type, which I think is amazing, is called Math Chops. I have a bunch of my students using Math Chops as well right now. You also have Khan Academy, which can be a great resource for free practice problems. Again, like let's say, hey, I want to work on advanced algebra problems in particular. Let's say linear equation word problems. Boom, you click in here and you've got more questions. Now, one thing I want to mention with Khan Academy is sometimes there's a disconnect between these questions and what I would say would be a good representative digital SAT College Board-like question. And why that is, I heard an explanation years ago that, College Board used to kind of really review all the problems that Khan Academy was creating. And then now, as the relationship has progressed, they sort of kind of let them take the reins. So I see a disconnect sometimes, and some of the problems don't fully connect, in my opinion, which I think is problematic, but not that problematic. So I would say your best bet where you're going to see the best problems is not in the advanced, but prior to advanced. So you have these different levels. Let me go back here. We have foundations. That's if you're just starting. Then we have medium, and then we have advanced. So the medium questions, I think, hit the mark pretty well. Some of the advanced problems are just they're more difficult than what you'll see. Not always saying that's the worst thing in the world, but that's my 2 cents. I have another student that has been using some Princeton review resources. I've looked at those. I think those are all right as well. Yeah. So that would give you a bunch to start with, but that would be my recommendation. Okay, let me see any other questions. Osario, Emanuela, I'm not sure what that emoji is, but welcome. Okay, let's get into the mix. So let's start with everything you need to know. Now, Again, that's a big theme that I want to make sure I'm hitting home, is that need to have a really well-balanced arsenal of ways to tackle and dissect different problems. Don't just be like, well, I know how to solve that one in Desmos, so I don't need to know anything else. No, like you still want to know, for example, systems of equations, elimination, substitution, methods to tackle systems of equations, because now if they start throwing in constants and weird things like that, it's going to make it very, very difficult to just simply rely on, Desmos and jump in that way. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. Somebody's at my door. Give me 2 seconds. I'm coming right back. Sorry. Hey, what's up? I'm gonna open the gate for you. Oh, amazing. Okay, that's amazing. I'm sorry. I'm on a YouTube video. I'm gonna open the gate for you. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, guys. Sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm coming right back. Post questions in the chat. I just gotta open the door for my gardener. But post questions in the chat. Give me 30 seconds. All right. Okay, buddy. Watch out, Kazi. All right. Sorry, guys. Woo. Okay, my bad. Today's been a crazy day. All right, let me see if we got any questions in here before we start. Somebody said, why are there no 5th and 6th videos for J.E.D.I training? Oh yeah, sorry, I haven't posted those. Okay, great question. Here's the amazing thing, okay? Before the August SAT, there's one other video that I made, and I'm going to post this in the J.E.D.I training page at some point this week. But check this out. SAT, digital SAT. Okay, look at this video. So in this video, all right, and it's all timestamped. I don't know why the timestamps don't show up in the bar up here, but like, look, every question is timestamped. Be like, boop, number 11. Question 11, blah, blah, blah. So I've done all of the practice tests in this video. Now, I don't want you to just sit here and watch the whole thing, especially obviously if you haven't taken all the practice tests yet, right? But we're going to post this, and this is going to be your one-stop shop to watch all the explanations. Although I did get one of the questions wrong. I can't remember which one. That was on practice test 1. I typed something into Desmos wrong. But anyways, they're all in this video, so make sure to check that out. Okay, let's get in the mix. I want to talk about everything you need to know about the digital SAT. We're going to do a kind of a quick version of everything today. And later tonight on the school website, if you want to get more details and dive in deeper into the digital SAT and everything you need to know about it, I've got a video where breaks down these slides in much more detail. But we're going to do an abridged version today. I really want to get to the formulas as well because they're super important. Okay, so we're going to skip kind of some of these basic things. Okay, what does it mean to be adaptive? I'm just going to quickly explain that if once you hit a threshold, right, a certain threshold of correct answers, you're going to go to the more difficult version of Module 2. And that's what we want. That's our goal with every student. Because if you kind of get to the lower difficulty one, you're never going to be able to get that max score. Now, I don't know exactly where it caps out, but I have, for example, gotten like everything wrong on Module 1 before and then gotten a perfect on the easier level of Module 2, and you like cap out at like a 420. This is like really low. So you can see from that gives you a little indication that you definitely want to be, we just got to hit that higher difficulty Module 2 if possible. And that's what we're working towards. Okay. So we've got 2 sections, right? We've obviously got our reading and writing and our math section. So we've got mod 1 and 2, as I mentioned, for both verbal and math. The mod 2, we want to get to the higher difficulty because once again, it's adaptive. We don't want to get to the easier version. 27 questions in each mod for reading and writing. Math is 22 questions for each one. Notice now that the PSAT is identical in length and amount of questions to the digital SAT. That's something new. Even though the score is different, it's out of 1520 instead of 1600, but still. And then we got a total of 2 hours and 14 minutes. So you notice the time has shortened from the previous SAT. And once again, we're shooting for a total of 1600, right? The max you can get is the 800. Little known fact, you can't get lower than a 200 as long as you log in and begin. All right. And I'm going to kind of jump through some of this stuff. We're going to keep moving. But this is just an important thing. The no points are subtracted for incorrect answers, meaning you should never, ever, ever leave anything blank. It's pointless. Just fill it out and give it a shot. You got a 1 in 4 chance if it's multiple choice. Free response, a little different. Okay. We're going to ignore this now because we're so in the zone with the digital. I don't even think it makes sense to talk about the paper version in comparison. Now, this is just something to let you know about percentiles. We can see that roughly the 50th percentile is about 1,000. Okay, 1,030 is generally what we say. But like, let's say around 1,000, you're in the 50th percentile. What that means, by the way, percentile, is that means 50% of people scored better than you, 50% of people scored lower than you. So you're right in the middle. Okay. Now, the reading and writing. You know what? I'm going to just kind of jump through this quickly because, again, you can dive deeper into the details if you watch this video. And all these videos are going to be posted on the school platform. When we talk about, okay, I'm going to jump through this because we've only got an hour today. These are some just different examples of question types. I want to get into the math, all right? So the math, we have those 37 categories that I mentioned out of 4 main categories, 37 subcategories, but the broad categories are algebra, problem-solving, data analysis, advanced math, geometry, and trigonometry. These percentages in terms of the breakdown of like 35% of questions are algebra or whatever, that's brought to you by Math Chops. So Math Chops, Mike McGibbon, who is a founder of Math Chops, friend of mine as well, awesome guy. He's the one that did the due diligence to sort of figure this out and say, oh yeah, if you look at an analysis of the practice tests released thus far, these are the percentage of breakdowns that you'll see. Okay. Now let's talk about algebra. What are the subcategories? We've got all of these guys. Again, you're seeing a lot of linear equations, systems of linear equations, graphs of linear equations, and then, of course, these word problems, okay? Next, we're going into problem-solving, data, and data analysis. Again, if you look at the Critical Concept Bible, everything is broken down by these subcategories in this order. But we see ratios, rates, and proportions. That historically has been a very big category, dealing with ratios, rates, and proportions. And we got probability in the mix, data inferences. Box and whisker plots will show up routinely. That's part of the data representation section, as well. Center spread and shape of distribution, mean, median, mode, things like that. Oh, yeah, sorry. So these are some of the subcategories. We got a question from Cole. And by the way, part of the point of joining these seminars live is so you can ask questions and we can talk and so on and so forth. So you're going to get the most value if you do show up here every Monday at 2 p.m. PST. Oh, yeah, that is a question I wanted to ask. I'm going to try PSAT in October as well as for the National Merit. Is it the exact same as that? Yeah. Now it's pretty much the exact same. I had one of my students yesterday said he felt the math on the practice PSATs was easier than the SAT. I don't know if I noticed that. I feel like they're pretty consistent in terms of the difficulty, style. Now the length and everything is identical. So just stick to what you're doing. It's, exact same thing. If they release a new practice to a PSAT, which I don't think they will, because they just released one over the summer. Yeah, obviously take it. And if you had to choose between that and taking a practice SAT, I would lean towards the practice PSAT. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, I think they're identical now. Okay, we also have advanced math. You might recognize some of these categories from both Algebra 1 and or Algebra 2. We've got, rational exponents, radical, rational, and absolute value equations. A lot of quadratic, a lot of exponential stuff. There's also rational functions, which might be in the mix as well. That's sort of like I feel like a newer thing with the digital compared to the old version. We didn't see too many of those before. Polynomial graphs, etc. So these are the category breakdowns. Again, to get targeted practice, 2 places that I recommend are Math Chops and, of course, Khan Academy, which is totally free. Last but not least, we got geometry and trigonometry, just these 6 topics: circle equations, area and volume, congruence, similarity, and angle relationships. Now, within these subcategories, the things that you need to know are, once again, in that Critical Concept Bible. When we do the lecture next week where we go through all these critical concepts, we're going to talk about everything, but you're also going to have that video to watch on replay as well. Okay. Now, of course, on math in particular, we have 2 different types of questions. We have multiple choice, A through D, and then we also have student-produced response questions. Student-produced response means you just enter the number. If it's 4, 13, 27.2, 1/9, you just type it in. Throughout the test, you can click a button to access this reference sheet, which has got all these amazing formulas, area, volume, special right triangles. It also kind of indirectly tells you the equivalency between radians and degrees, right? We see that 2 pi radians is the radians in a circle. 360 degrees is the degrees in a circle, hence they're equivalent. So you can use that to convert back and forth between radians and degrees. So just remember that. It's on the reference sheet. And the number, it also gives you the triangle angle sum theorem down here, 180 degrees. Is what all the angles add up to in a triangle. Okay, you also have DESMOS throughout. You can click it anytime. There's no calculator section. So the whole thing is calculator allowed. But again, be careful as you're preparing. We're going to talk about some DESMOS hacks. I'm not going to be able to get through all of them, but we are going to talk about some. But just know that what the College Board is doing right now is they're adjusting the test, let's say, in my opinion, so that you can't just burn through questions heavily relying on DESMOS. You got to be dynamic. You got to be able to use other formulas that we're going to talk about on the formula sheet and so on and so forth. Okay, we got some more questions here. Sanjay says, where do I practice hard questions once I reach a level of consistency on the simple questions? So if you, again, Khan Academy, you can select the advanced portion or the medium portion, and you'll get harder level questions within those subcategories. Math Chops as well. If you look at Math Chops, let's see if I can show it to you guys real quick. What you can do is you can create a quiz, and you can say SAT Math, and you can choose the difficulty. We can go to like 780, and then you can kind of adjust like this, right? You can say how many questions, you can turn off the timer, so on and so forth, and then you can generate a quiz down here. So depending on what you want to work on, I just want to work on geometry. So we work on geometry. It's all geometry-based questions, some circle equations, etc. So I highly recommend this. It's $10 a month. You can sign up and cancel whenever you want. So I would highly recommend it if this is something you're interested in. We got a couple more questions. Sarah says, thanks for helping me be able to get the course. I always got lower marks in problem-solving data analysis section, but don't see any increase. What should I do? Hit that section. Practice it. Also, watch my critical concept Bible video on the problem solving and data analysis question in particular. In the school community, I want you to post those questions in particular that are giving you trouble. And maybe when we do our 3rd week or 4th week class where I answer questions submitted by students, I can answer some of those questions, and you can jump on the stream and we can really dig into what seems to be tripping you up. Sanjay says, where do I practice hard questions once I reach a level of free resources that is hard SAT math questions. Khan Academy, right there. This one's going to be totally free. So Khan Academy, you can jump in here. Let me give you an example. Problem solving. We jump into ratios, rates, and proportions. Boom. And we hit this. These are the practice problems right here. Let's go. So you can knock these out and get some good targeted practice. How am I taking the October SAT? Well, the College Board lets people out of high school take it. So there's nothing untoward about it. It is totally allowed. I think the statistic used to be like over 1,000 tutors and adults would take the SAT every year. And I think it's amazing that they do that because they're being transparent. They're letting us come in and see the test. And obviously there's an understanding and an agreement there that we're also going to maintain the confidentiality agreement that we that we agree to when we sign up for the SAT, right? So it goes both ways. The College Board was even kind enough to send a representative to the National Test Prep Association. We had a conference in June, and they talked very candidly about the direction of the SAT, where it's going, all that good stuff. So yeah, that's how we do it. Yeah, San Lee says, math chops, let's go. Okay. Anyways, let's keep it moving. So I gave some examples here of multiple choice questions as well as student-produced response questions. So you guys can check these later. Again, I want to get through the rest of this stuff before we conclude because I got a hard stop at 3 p.m. All right. Why take the DSAT? I think at this point, most people are like, yeah, we got to take it just because it's one more way that we can, even if it's test optional where you're applying, more schools are coming back from test optional, and you may as well have one more metric, one more positive number in your arsenal when you're applying to schools than not, right? So obviously you should take it. We're going to get through this. of course, you can get scholarships. These are like particular ones from the University of Alabama, Arizona. I mean, you can get some pretty substantial scholarships, especially with the solid digital SAT score. I mean, look at this, 1420 and above. I saw Cole is already in this zone and some other people as well. Oh, yeah. We had some other folks post here, some terrific results. I think Ahmet said, let's see this. Ahmet got an 800 on the math. I mean, that's amazing for this August one, especially considering how hard the math was. Ahmet, I'd love to talk to you if you're watching this at any point and get your feedback on the test. That is phenomenal. So, I mean, you see a lot of these people right now that we're seeing their scores. They're already qualifying for these massive scholarships. I mean, you might even in some case get a full tuition, full ride, okay? So it's pretty amazing. For the admission stuff, I again encourage you guys to watch. Here, let me post this video so you can watch it in detail. And we're going to move on 1 second. Here we go. So everything you need to know.
Next, let's talk about how to register for...
Oh, this is the old version. Hold on. We need to know everything you need to know about the digital SAT. 1 sec. Here we go. This one.
As a transitional...
Hold on. I just got to make sure my dog's okay. I heard him cough. Kazi, okay? Okay. He's all right. Love all the questions, guys, by the way. Thank you so much for being active participants in the chat. I really appreciate it. What resource was that for? Oh, yeah, it was Math Chops. Oh, yeah. So there's the video so you can watch these slides and kind of go through everything. It's all timestamped. We're going to move on. So now we're going to talk about the formulas. I cannot tell you how essential these formulas are, especially as things are being changed in real time, somewhat modified in real time. Let's put it like that. Don't want to say like too harsh of changes because, again, it's still within the same math universe. But we're seeing these changes in real time in regards to like making Desmos less universally incredible to answer each and every problem. And so, again, they're guiding you back to using some of these key formulas. So let's check out the formulas, and we're going to kind of blaze through them because we have a lot of material to cover today. And sorry, guys, it's just been a lot going on today in particular as we're jumping back into this class. But we're going to kind of skip through this. I'm going to run through the formulas, but make sure you watch this video multiple times. Get these in your brain. Give me 1 second. Just open the door. Hold on. All right. My bad. So obviously you got to know the given formulas. As I mentioned, you have this reference sheet with all these formulas. So you want to know where they are, what they are, so you don't spend time memorizing them, right? Like you want to know them and be comfortable with them. I still think you should be, I'm still going to talk about special right triangles because they're very important, or Pythagorean's theorem. But again, they're right there. They're right there if you need to pull them down at any point. So it's very important. Okay. So obviously we have slope of a line. When you have 2 points, this is really important, especially if you need to come up with an equation of a line or find the slope from 2 points, whatever. So it's the difference of the y values minus the difference of the x values. Gotta know this one. Slope-intercept form, many of you guys know this, y equals mx plus b. Very, very important because you can tell from the equation that I have a y-intercept of 7 and a slope of 2, right? And that's 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, rise over run. We also have point slope form. This is not as important, but I still think it's great because you can still figure out a linear equation with slope intercept form, but I like this because I think it saves you just a little bit of time on certain problem types. And again, it shows you this is my point, right? So if I have -3, -4 like that, that means I have a coordinate 3, 4, and I also have that nice slope of 3 over 2, again, up 3 over 2. Okay. Midpoint formula. This is how you calculate the midpoint of any 2 points, right? But really, what are you doing? You're really just taking the average of the x values, average of the y values, midpoint, middle, average. But it's a very important formula. Okay, next we've got distance formula. Oh, yeah. Sanjay says, is Desmos really that powerful? I've heard lots and lots of people saying that they have done 90% of the test just using Desmos. Yeah, so Desmos is very powerful, but 90% I'm not sure anymore. I think before maybe. But I have a video on Desmos. I'm going to send it to you here. I'll post it in the chat right now. So here's my Desmos video. I'm going to make another one, by the way, before the October SAT, and I've got a really good idea for one. But this, for now, is what you've got. We may not even get to the Desmos Hacks today, so you guys can watch that video and see everything that I do. There's a lot of other people that have made really good Desmos videos as well. You should check them out, especially Tutorlini, as I mentioned before. He's got some good stuff in the mix. Okay, anyways. So coming back to these formulas, this is the distance formula. I feel like, give me one second. I'm just letting my dog in. Come on, buddy. So I would say this isn't as critical of a formula as some of these other ones, like slope-intercept form and so on and so forth. But I do think it's valid, and I do think it is helpful, especially I've noticed it with circle problems where you have to calculate the distance of a radius or a diameter. They'll give you a point in the center and an end point, so you might have to use it that way. So yeah, I think it's something that's important, particularly in those types of problems. Somebody says, what are some cool practice websites to work on reading and math skills? Yeah, so I've kind of talked about that several times, but maybe go back and check the beginning of this video. But again, if you want targeted practice problems, I'd say Khan Academy and Math Chops. And then I gave a bunch like Score Smart, SAT Crash Course, which that's up here. SAT Crash Course for awesome practice tests that I've collaborated with them. I've made video explanations for all their math problems. So I think that's really good. What's up from Nigeria? Oh, by the way, thank you, Cole. Thank you, Cole. Cole's the man. He just presented that to you as well. Typed it out. If you guys could actually state where in the world you're tuning in from, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see where everybody is from. Okay. Length of an arc. Okay, this is the length of an arc, right? That's a little piece of the pizza crust, if you will, a piece of the circumference. It's no wonder that it's central angle over 360 times the circumference. And then we also have area of a sector. Same fraction, central angle over 360 times area of the full circle, pi r squared. Quadratic formula, you guys have probably heard of this. Again, very important. Your good old-fashioned SOHCAHTOA, which again, if you watch the video, I go into more detail explaining each of these ratios and functions and so on and so forth. Probability, you guys probably are aware of this, but it's just number of favorable outcomes. One way I say is ways to win over total number of outcomes. So there's let's say you're playing a game and there's 37 cards you can draw, and there's only 2 cards that will give you the victory. Your odds of winning are 2 out of 37. The circle equation is very important as well. Just understanding the different components, right? Once it's in standard form, you know that the center is that 2, -5. And you know that the radius is the square root of that value on the right-hand side. They gave a really gnarly circle question with a lot of variables where you couldn't just plug it into Desmos on one of the recent practice tests. And we'll go over that at some point in this course. But that's a great example of a situation where previously you could just be like, oh yeah, you just plug in the circle equation in Desmos and find the center and the radius and the diameter and all that stuff. Whereas it's like, no, that's not going to work. At least not as easily. Like you really have to think it through and figure out a way to apply Desmos. And then the other way to do it just by leveraging your knowledge of completing the square and getting it into this format and interpreting it and understanding it. That's going to be a way faster strategy. So again, having a deep understanding of these foundations and fundamentals on the math side, I think is going to be the difference in terms of these new permutations of question types. Ooh, another person from Nigeria. Amazing. So cool. We have next exponential growth. Okay, so exponential growth. The key is the variable is the exponent. So some examples of these, right? That's your variable. That's your time variable. And that's what it means, like something to the x power, as opposed to y equals x squared. That's quadratic. The variable is the base, not the exponent. But here, the variable is the exponent. And then we also have exponential decay, where we're decreasing at an exponential rate. A great example is a percentage like this. If you decrease it 9%, what you're putting in the parentheses is not 9%. You're putting 1 minus 9%. Here, you're increasing by 13%. You don't put 13% in. You put 1 plus 13%. This is very important. Again, this is one of these critical formulas that I think they're pushing you to use in certain scenarios to figure things out even in an abstract way, or for an abstract problem where, like, if it's super abstract, there's lots of constants and coefficients that we don't know, and it just plugging into Desmos won't necessarily work. But knowing this formula might give you some insights and avenues to success and getting a question right compared to just strictly using Desmos. So very important. Sanjay from South Carolina, what's up? Okay. Okay. Next, we have vertex form. This is, again, very important. I was just talking to a student about vertex form and knowing this yesterday. If you get a parabola and you know the vertex, you can immediately plug it into this format, even if you don't know what A is. And that can be really helpful for some of the very abstract quadratic formulas. So I'm going to flag this one as well as being extremely important. Pythagorean theorem is presented, right? We know a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared on the reference sheet. Special right triangles is also presented as well. And I see this popping up sometimes where it's like, you have to recognize that you even have a special right triangle. Like one example I saw recently where, again, it wasn't so obvious, but you realize that you had two radii of a circle making a 9-degree angle, and then you had to find the hypotenuse of that triangle. So you had to think, well, radii of a circle are always equal. Oh, so that means both legs of this triangle, right triangle, because it's forming a 9-degree angle, are also equal. Oh, isosceles right triangles of 45, 45, 90. So you have to like make those connections, and then you can apply these common ratios where you know that if you have the legs are x, the hypotenuse is x rad 2, or so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So what I think is we're going to see more of these hybrid type of stacked questions where it's not just as simple as like, oh, I know 30, 60, 90, boom, let's just plug it in and run with it. You have to be able to figure out that a 30, 60, 90 is even in play. Then you can apply these ratios and principles. This one's a more simple one, but I do think it helps, especially for rate problems, just remembering distance equals rate times time. I'm predicting that this is going to be really important too, because this is, again, one of these shortcut formulas where, yes, you can, what's an example, right? Like, you know that sine of, let's say you're trying to find cosine of 80. It's like, oh, it equals sine of 10. But you can also just plug in cosine of 80, right? So you might be like, well, I don't necessarily need to remember this equivalency, that sine of an angle is equal to cosine of its complement. But I do think they're going to throw more twists and turns, more abstract types of problems where you have to leverage this fact to get to the answer, and where Desmos isn't going to be that much of help. So I think this is an important formula that you got to make sure to know as well. So we'll keep pinpointing some of these formulas that I think are, this one I think is going to be huge. Sum of solutions always has been important, and I feel like the College Board always loved to test this. But just to know the shortcut that if you're in a quadratic and standard form, you can quickly get the sum of solutions by putting negative b over a. And the way I think it's going to present is they're going to be like, the sum of solutions is, and they're going to give you some weird expression. And then you're going to have to set that equal to negative b over a from the quadratic and isolate and solve. Just to reiterate, these formulas have a more in-depth video. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Let me post that right now. Scalar digital SAT formula. There you go. Hey, Abhi from the UK. Amazing. All right, there we go. I just posted it. Coming back. I think this one is also going to be very important. Sum of solutions, similar, negative b, product of solutions. Sum is negative b over a. Product is similar, but it's c over a. So if I have this equation, c over a would be negative 5 over 2, and that would be the product of solutions, whatever they may be, right? We can solve for the solutions using quadratic formula, but if you multiply them together, that's what you should get. The discriminant's going to be important too. Some really cool problems I've seen for the discriminant have been like trying to find a constant that the discriminant must be larger than in order to have two real solutions or something like that. So again, you could kind of try and figure that out in Desmos. You might say, what does this constant need to be in order for this to have one solution or two solutions. And then you can kind of put it in Desmos and nudge the constant to see if you just get one intersection point, meaning a solution of a line and a parabola, or you can set them equal to each other and go straight to discriminant. And I think that's going to be a more favorable way of solving this type of question on the next test than just simply always going to Desmos. And that's what I try to tell all my students is you got to be flexible. You got to be dynamic. You got to know these other paths to victory. You can't just rely on Desmos, right? So that's what it always is. And often what I'll say is the best path to victory is a lot of times the first thing that pops in your mind is a potential avenue to success. But if your first thing that's popping in your mind is just straight up Desmos, and then you get to a dead end, now you got to rethink it. Now you got to go back to some of these formulas and plug and play. All right, I'm going to skip this. This is just like, you can see that in the video. Again, discriminants greater than 0, 2 solutions, equal to 0, 1 solution, negative, no real solutions. I don't think this is going to be that important. I'm going to skip through that. Again, still learn it, but Pythagorean triples, again, this is just a matter of convenience. These are just some easy Pythagorean triples that are tested a lot, and these are the multiples of those. So like 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 9, 12, 15. All of these historically have come up a lot in the SAT. 10, 24, 26, not as much, but 5, 12, 13, like the original Pythagorean triple. Yes, I think we'll see that. Maybe this one and this one, but those are the most common. Got to know that perpendicular slope, this is very important, is equal to the opposite reciprocal, right? You flip it and you negate it. Versus parallel slope, the slopes are identical. Okay. This is, again, the sum of angles within a polygon. More heavily tested on the ACT than the SAT, but I like to post it just in case, like, you know, they may have a question about the total number of angles in a quadrilateral, and you may remember it's 360. But if you forget, you got this formula in your back pocket, and you can always just figure it out. Or pentagon, I could see them asking about that. You might also have that memorized as 540, but if you forget, that's the formula to extract that information. Rational functions, this is not exactly a formula per se, but you can see by looking at a rational function, you can quickly get these different pieces of information. You can see what zeroes out the numerator is the x-intercept, what zeroes out the denominator is the vertical asymptote, and then if you just remove the x's, meaning zero them out, you've got your y-intercept. Same here, right? So again, we have an x-intercept at -2, a vertical asymptote at x equals 5, and y-intercept at 2 over -5. These are important. I definitely think this will show up. The 5 triangle congruence theorems. Side, side, side. All sides are congruent. Side, angle, side. Again, the angle in between the congruent sides must be congruent. It can't just be a random angle out here. So side, angle, side, the order matters. Or angle, side, angle. All consecutive. We also have angle, angle, and then any other side. That's going to suffice there. And we've got hypotenuse leg. That's only if and only if we know we have 2 right triangles. The 3 triangle similarity theorems are angle, angle, side, and side, side, side. But the caveat with side, angle, side, and side, 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 you might be like, well, wait, we saw those incongruence theorems. Yes, except when we say side, 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 we're not saying all 3 sides are equal or congruent. We're saying they are proportionate in the same way. Likewise here, proportionate sides, angle, congruent, proportionate sides. The unit circle is a little over. I'm not saying you need to know it. It can be helpful, however, if you do know it. But I'm not going to say you can definitely get by just fine and still even get an 800 without knowing the unit circle. But sometimes it might save a little bit of time. Foiling, got to know this, but I'm sure most of you do. The process of foiling 2 binomials. I'm going to have to log off in a couple minutes here, so that's why I'm blazing through this. And again, we can see this in detail on the video. Okay, so Robert is asking about verbal. If you got verbal questions in particular, tune in Wednesday. Dan's the man on the verbal side, so he'll help you there. So again, you got x times x, x squared, -6x, +3x, and -18, and you combine those middle-like terms. That's how you FOIL. Squaring a binomial, don't forget, it's not this. It's not just square each of the terms. You have to say, oh, it's a binomial times itself, and then you FOIL again. And then you can see that's how you square a binomial. Don't forget that is a trap that they try and get you on the SAT. We've got all our exponent rules here. I'm going to have to kind of blaze through this as well. You got to know these exponent rules. Very, very, very important. Again, it's in that video in detail, so it'll kind of explain these as you go through. But especially converting, this last one, converting between rational and radical form, very, 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 very important. Absolute value problems, the way you solve these is you're going to have typically two solutions as long as it equals a positive number. If it equals 0, you'll have one solution. If it equals a negative, you'll have no solution. But typically equaling a positive number, you bifurcate, and then you just, in the second equation, you negate the other side. And these are your two solutions, 10 and -2. Last one. We've got inequalities, and this is all about one important rule, which is when you divide both sides of an inequality by a negative or multiply both sides by a negative, you got to flip that inequality, okay? And that's it. Don't forget to flip, okay, guys? That's pretty much it. We're going to end it here. I didn't get to go over the DESMOS stuff, but I sent that video. Now, again, this 4-week version of the course is going to be a little bit shorter. We're not going to have as much time to go into details as we did in August. But because all of this is already presented in videos, this is going to give you the timeline and the blueprint and hopefully some guiding principles along the way, as well as a discussion to engage with each other and ask questions, so that it's going to just get you in that amazing, beautiful mental space to get you to your best score possible on the October SAT. So anyways, check out that DESMOS Hacks video. I'm making a brand new one that's going to drop before the October SAT that's going to be even better. So stay tuned for that. It's probably going to come out the week of, and it'll give you some really amazing last-minute tips in terms of how to use DESMOS. But again, why did I make sure to go through this formulas slide? Because I think these are going to be the difference maker, the key to really being able to nail a high math score. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining. Like the video if you did like it. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet. And last but not least, join our school community. Join the tab. And look, we got 3 more members sign up as we did the live stream. So there we go. That's it, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you in the next